My name is Greg Haverstick. I'm out of the New York office.
My name is Hope Dunleavy. I work with RealFoundations, and I am based out of Denver, Colorado.
I was the overall project manager of the MRI implementation.
For the Kimco project, I started off as the commercial lead for the core implementation, and then I transitioned into the project manager for the budgeting and forecasting implementation.
Kimco is one of the largest owner-operators of retail open-air shopping centers in the United States.
The relationship with Kimco began in 2018 when they had the need to change their 20-plus-year-old legacy platform. And in doing so, they realized that they needed to find a new vendor and also a new implementation partner. They reached out to MRI and also chose RealFoundations to be those partners.
Once we won the work, it was immediately a top priority at RealFoundations. Kimco is, as I said before, one of the largest owner-operators of retail shopping centers in the country. We knew going in this was going to be an extremely complex project, which we're going to utilize our deep bench of MRI professionals to the best of their ability.
So before the transition, Kimco was operating like many companies we see in the marketplace, where they have over the years implemented multiple systems, some of them integrated, some of them not.
There was a sense of urgency to the project, given the amount of money invested into the implementation, given the fact that their legacy application was nearing the end of its life. There was a real urgency to get this right and to make sure it was done correctly so that there would be a seamless transition from legacy platform to MRI. So we sat down with senior management representing the various departments, technology, operations, planning, and accounting, to talk about the successes and challenges of a project, especially during the pandemic.
We thought it was important for current clients and potential clients of MRI to hear how a large player in the marketplace, such as Kimco, was able to transform their business with MRI through two key implementations, and one of those happening during COVID, and have it be a success.
So back in 2018, we were definitely looking to replace our system. We had been on CTI for almost 20 years.
We brought together well over 100 stakeholders from around the organization, and to help us define requirements within the various functional areas that we operate. And so we went through a very structured approach, prepared an RFP, got back responses.
We had a product that we were using with, that gave us outputs. We were looking to figure out how do we make something that's going to improve our processes, right? We didn't want to just replicate everything that we're doing. We really wanted to bring everyone together and get ideas of how do we make it more efficient? How do we give management better data faster? And really prioritizing how that comes together along with everybody.
In our old world, back in before 2018, we had a variety of systems. We literally maybe over, I would say off the top of my head, about over 25 different systems that we utilized internally. A fixed asset system that wasn't integrated as well. And having reviewed all the other products on the market, we thought this MRI system provided us one place for one system, one entry point, and hopefully streamline everything.
So from an MRI perspective, we love the open architecture of it. At Kimco, we don't want just basic. We want to take basic and put it on steroids and get the best product out of it that fits us, not just anyone else. So MRI presented to us a product that we would be able to take it, use the core product, but then also layer on our Kimco flair and get out of it what we needed.
Secondarily, there was a very strong desire on MRI's part to be a partner with Kimco along this. It wasn't just MRI selling a product. They really took an interest in our business needs and aligned very well with our functional leadership.
When looking for a partner to implement, we really wanted to see a bench that was really deep. And RF came to us with strong employees who could provide that support to us. You know, they had the MRI experience. They had just come off of doing a peer of ours, so they had that experience with MRI. And also, we've used RF in the past on other Kimco products, so they understood how we operated. We have a very strong staff, and I'll say they've been at Kimco for a long time, and they know what they want, and they're going to be tough. And sometimes as a consultant, you have to be able to stand up to those types of people. And RF really had the right folks on the team who knew when to listen and knew when to push back. And that was a really key thing for us.
In our minds, risk was a big factor in implementing a solution like this. We're a public organization. We needed to make sure that, first and foremost, we found a provider that could help manage risk, that had the talented group of practitioners that could work with our team, that had a set of tools and technology that could manage this project, and again, overall manage risk for us. But I think that the skill sets and the folks that they brought to the table were exceptional, and they really did a great job aligning with our team and working closely with them.
So after a challenging and exciting MRI implementation, we went live in July of 2019 and immediately set our sights on implementing MRI BNF.
When we did this typical project fashion, you start off with what is your process today, and then what would you like to see it in the future state. And then with that, with the assistance of RF, of going through what we wanted to see the future state, RF will give us best practices and also suggestions of how to design the product to achieve the goals that we had for future state.
So back, in 2019, when we all met at MRI's headquarters, we walked through kind of how we needed to use the product with the product people and some of the senior executives of MRI and RF. And we really kind of came up with a game plan of the timing that we needed, the functionality that we needed, and it was the beginnings of MRI's road mapping process of how we actually get to where we need to be.
As we assessed the fit and functionality of the BNF product, it was clear to us that we needed some additional capabilities. We need the capability to perform functions and activities across, whether it's a portfolio, whether it's a region, whether it's a property manager, whether it's a leasing person. So different slices of data.
So at the beginning, we undertook various work sessions to understand Kimco's requirements as part of budgeting and forecasting. It became clear through these work sessions that Kimco had requirements that were not met with budgeting and forecasting at that time. Their MRI senior leadership really got involved and made a commitment to Kimco that they would help put this functionality into the core product.
MRI was very amenable to help in any way possible because they saw it as a partnership with us. Not just the regular project to sell you a license, they saw it as a project and a partnership to enhance their product, because the more enhancements and the better we can make the product, the better they can sell it or give it to their customers and satisfy their customers as well, because their product is really real estate based. And they continue to look to innovate their product as much as possible with the latest cutting edge technologies, but also to address solutions to various challenges that companies like us face, which is integration, functionality, reporting, controls, workflows, future state of using robotics. How do you do that? So they were very open to that, and that was a big thing.
While MRI worked on enhancements to the budgeting and forecasting product, we kicked off the budgeting and forecasting implementation in January of 2020.
So, the key thing, there's two things that got really exciting about it. Was a lot of it was stuff we had been wanting to do. And so it's wonderful to have a catalyst and you have a partnership in doing it. So making sure that we could take a lot of what we were doing in budgeting and forecasting and making it easier and faster to do it at a higher level. Making it so that you can take an action and it would work around across multiple different budgets. You don't have to go into each one. And there was multiple examples, and that was sort of a theme that fell under Also just making it easier to make changes to an assumptions or into a budget and see how that has any kind of impact. Those are other areas, but doing it in ways that you can do it through the user interface and not ways that you had to go into each different record or field or type something in. So making it a lot easier to use. And the reason why these types of things were really exciting is because as we were working with our partners, with Real Foundation, with Kimco on doing this, we also kind of went out on a roadshow. We actually did take some of this to a session during Ascend 2019 and got other feedback, and it was really well aligned. So we had a great following that supported these features and made it possible to do all this work in 2020. So it was a win right there at the beginning for the MRI product team, along with our partners, Kimco and Real Foundations, because we were on the right path.
So part of the next phase was working with Kimco to prioritize those requirements and understand what was needed at the beginning versus other requirements that can be put later on in 2020.
So our goals were pretty firm that around June of 2020, our partner and friends, Kimco, were going live with budgeting and forecasting. And to do that, we all came to an agreement of what needed to get done. So what did we do? We worked on 3 major deliverables throughout 2020 that would give the team incremental access to some of those features, allow them to meet their timeframes for June of 2020, and continue to deliver throughout the year of 2020. We actually have a little bit more going on into next year.
Our whole process is a stacked process of dates. So we have requirements of JV reporting and budgeting. And so we have deadlines with joint ventures, and we know that it takes us a certain amount of time to put together a budget. So we had this kind of beginning of July as a start, as the absolute date that we had to hit with the core functionality of the system, because we know that it takes us 2 months to get through our process, because we have, we have over 500 sites and we have over 100, JV sites, and it's this really kind of integrated process of step by step. And we know what's involved, so we backtrack dates to figure out where it has to start.
Something that we realized when we were doing the BNF was it's very important that the 2 systems really integrate. So your decisions that you make when you're implementing the core product on the CM side especially really trickles into how the BNF side is going to be designed. And so for us, we did learn that when we were making decisions on our CM structure and design, and mostly on customizations that we were building on the CM side to have it work for our core product, we needed to really take a step back and think about what implications will that have when we implement the budget and forecast. You want to make it where you're getting what you need from the CM side, but also going to be able to utilize that on the BNF side. And so you really need to think through any customizations that you put in. 2 months after we started the MRI Budgeting Forecasting project, we had to move to a remote working platform. So configuration and working through customizations, all of that work can easily be done remotely. 2 key items that we had to think creatively about is how do we test? How do we go through 3 very rigorous testing cycles with 20 plus users? And how do we make sure that we've tested all functionality correctly, that we have, and we're engaging everyone in that process? And then we also had to think about how do we effectively train 200 plus users remotely through going through how do you use the system, also, the new business process changes as well. And we worked very closely with the budgeting forecasting team to talk through, what we think will work, what won't work. And, as we went through the testing and training, when we saw things that weren't working, we were very quick to make changes to make sure that everyone feels comfortable once we go live.
So we had a very tight timeline with a July go live as being an absolute requirement. In addition, we also had functionality that was being released by MRI in March of 2020, as well as June of 2020. And so in the middle of that, a pandemic hit. What do? And fortunately, Kimco and RF both had very strong infrastructure in place to work remotely. And so although RealFoundations is typically used to working side by side with our clients, we were able to seamlessly transition into a remote environment.
In-person interactive work is kind of how we've always ran everything. And it really kind of caused us to completely change how we're working together. And the technology definitely helps. You know, we've got Zoom, we've got Teams, we've got RingCentral, we have Skype, we have many ways to kind of get it all done, and figuring out which one worked best for what was definitely a challenge in the beginning stages of working from home.
Our development team, which is very used to working together in a very collaborative setting, they are on a collaborative table, all of a sudden we're now separated. And luckily, because of all the other tools that MRI uses, like Microsoft Teams and other stuff, they actually did a fantastic job making that shift. But that was an unknown factor at the beginning.
Having the technology in place to facilitate everyone being remote really helped the project continue to work and succeed. I know that the groups had to get used to not having all of the tools that they had in the offices and not having the one-on-one contact with each other to work through problems. But I would say organizationally, we didn't skip a beat, and we adapted quite well to work from home.
After 3 vigorous testing cycles and training 200 plus users over 25 classes, we successfully implemented MRI Budgeting and Forecasting at Kimco in July, just in time for their 2021 budget season.
I've been happy with what we've done to it. Come a long way. It's definitely efficient, and we still have a lot of more runway to go and getting even more efficient. I mean, it's still stabilizing. That's why I say I think we're about 50% on the curve, but you could see the power of the system. It's enormous. I mean, to give you an example, right, as a benchmark and frame of reference, when we went live in July, we were trying to do accruals in the system for recoveries, CAM accruals, okay? And the system has a functionality that's fantastic, that it actually does a mock billing exactly the way you set it up in the system, which you would think most systems have. They don't. This one has it. So when we first did the recovery calculations, that first time, it took us 5 days. And then a month of time sorting through to figure it out, what was missing. This last recovery that we did for the month of August took 2 hours. Yeah, we're at that point, and it could be faster. Took 2 hours for the entire company. So that gives you a sense of that learning curve, and then the tweaks out of a new system. It takes time, but the system it's accurate now, and it's been only because of the work that RF has helped us to do to rectify the situations and identify what were the drivers for those little tweaks, but also the work from the people, and it pays off.
Right. In our old process, we basically took a copy of the data once a year, and then we manually adjusted it for a year. Where now we're implementing a process where on intervals, we're going to start refreshing those leases and bringing in real leases. We're going to integrate information from Salesforce to bring in spec leases. We're going to get a little bit more, I don't want to say real-time data, but faster data than we were using, and that'll help us make decisions faster, because we're not going to have to wait for information as long. And it also, again, it ties all the data together. So stuff that we would typically have to download from one system, download from another, create pivot tables or create lookups and kind of organize it together, our reporting tools are going to be able to pull that information into one place for better analysis.
This system has worked for us, and it continues to, and we continue to improve it, and we continue to see things that we want to make it better. But you need a tool that's going to allow you to meet those deadlines and meet them in the most efficient way that they can. And so doing the implementation in hindsight was, although yes, it had its challenges, it definitely was worth it. and we got the product that we wanted. And we will continue to make that product work for us even stronger.
So with the new rolling reforecast process that MRI built, it allows us to really kind of really give us efficiencies in how much work there's going to be done in our processes. It's going to allow us to shrink our time frames of updating data. It's going to allow us to, instead of starting from scratch every year, which is our former budget process, it's going to allow us to leverage all the work that we do all the time and not have this start over, everybody jump in, kind of everybody take a couple weeks away from your day jobs and start working on your budgets. And really it's a roll to the next, update your assumptions, check some stuff that you did, see if the company's changed a couple of the guidelines and policies, and move forward, and not build an entire new process every single year. And that's where this rolling reforecast process is really going to help us. It's just going to link everything together and keep our process fluid as opposed to start and stop.
When we were on our old ERP system, we did an upgrade maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years, and it was really a maintenance release. There wasn't new functionality, there wasn't new capabilities. Now we're getting down to a quarterly update of our software. So we're continuing to introduce new capabilities, new functionalities, new innovation to the organization, and you're starting to see things that are really getting people excited. And so having that as the backstop for us going forward, an organization like MRI that's continuing to invest in their product, continuing new releases on a very frequent basis, has just been great. And so we're very excited about that.
MRI Budgeting and Forecasting is now going to be a top choice for anyone looking to improve their budgeting and forecasting operations within their company. This is really exciting news for the industry. This project has really allowed MRI to really make some leaps and bounds with their product, and they've made a continued commitment to keep improving this product.
As I think about the future, I'm excited. We are, when you think about the budgeting and forecasting system, we also embarked on investment modeling. So we're in the process of taking the investment modeling product, and basically that'll cover the out years from a budget. So if you think about the first 1 to 5 years of using B&F, what do you do with the out years, right? And coming up with discounted cash flows and some of the other operations that you might use in different product, or we can just take all this information, put it in the investment modeling solution, and be able to produce those models. And then when you start to think about acquisitions, and the exciting part of this is we've just embarked on a Leverton product implementation. So when you think about digitizing all of our lease information and getting it into a system that we can use AI for, and having that capability of everything being accessible. And then you think about the idea that acquisitions and running new acquisitions through the Leverton product, and then taking that data out of that and putting it into the investment modeling to run your projections on those portfolios. So suddenly you've got all these different pieces of data coming together in a system that you can get access to the data, but use it in a number of different ways. So we're very excited about the investment modeling. We see that also as a capability for some of our development and redevelopment projects, and being able to produce the pro formas and doing the forecasting against those projects. So again, a lot of capabilities, but I would say you've got to start. You can't try to do everything at once. You've got to start with a piece, get it running well, and then expand from there and have a good roadmap. Our roadmap is, we've been at this for a few years now, getting the system up and stable and running well, and but knowing what are the next couple of years going to look like in terms of technology adoption, and how do you need to deliver new capabilities and functionality to your organization. So we like partnering with MRI, and we like the product stack, and they continue to do a terrific job for us.
So looking at the project after we're finished and assessing, where would we be if we had chose a different implementation partner than RF, I will tell you that I have many times said, I don't think we would have met our July deadline. I don't think we could have gotten as far as we did without having an implementation partner who was as strong as RF was. They came in, they got to know our people, they understood what we were looking for. When there was an issue, they would adapt with us. They truly were a partner in all aspects to it. And I can't say enough, I don't know that we would have kicked off our go live as quickly as we did had we chosen a different partner.
So one of the things that helps is that you've got somebody who's on site working with that client that's giving a perspective of not just the daily user, but understands how to translate what that user is looking to accomplish into something that helps us as a product and software development team deliver into software, create requirements, and deliver. In addition, having the partnership with RealFoundations brings in their breadth of knowledge as well. So it's not just the MRI team and everything that we experience with other clients, it's the RealFoundation team, everything they experience, and working with Kimco. And then, as I mentioned, there were some other clients as well, being able to feed in and share this information. So having their perspective and their ability to help articulate requirements, very key.
The way RealFoundations has helped us run better is they've helped us dot our I's and cross our T's. So they really have been the backstops on this program and on this project. And then they've been tremendously helpful in building out the solution and creating the capabilities that we were looking for in the solution to make sure that they actually either we build them ourselves or they get incorporated into the system. They've done a great job managing risk. They've done a great job from a change management standpoint and bringing our folks onto this new system. They've trained incredibly well. Their deliverables have all been first rate, and just the entire package has just been, it's gone very well for us.
The RealFoundations core values are: we work hard, we tell the truth, and we do what we say. We exhibit these values on every project with every client because we have a passion for making real estate run better.